Hello, I'm Shelly James and welcome to Paintabilities. In today's lesson, we're going to take that beautiful white flower that we created last week from a photograph and turn it into something more painterly looking. What does that mean? That means we're going to take and add shading, highlighting, and put in a beautiful center. So come join me today and let's get started. Today I'm going to be taking the painting that I created in the last session, which is this bright white petunia on a bold, dark background. And I'm going to be creating a little more of a painterly look with this design. So I'm going to be taking it from a petunia to maybe a more of a fantasy type flower. It could look a little bit like perhaps a peony of some sort or some other ruffly white flower, but I'm going to be showing you some ways to transform what might be a fairly ordinary looking painting into something a little more amazing. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is start adding some more interest into the petals. So I'm going to be sharing with you how I'm going to float some shaded color in there to kind of differentiate between the layers of petals and bring some forward and push some back. First I'm going to take a 16 flat. This is Donna Dewberry one-stroke painting 16 flat from her signature collection. I'm going to dampen that in water, lay it on paper towel, and then I'm going to load it with some floating medium. So this is a clear gel that will allow us to move paint more easily and float color. So I'm just loading it with a nice coating, both pushing it into the bristles as well as working it on the outside. So it's not gloppy, it's not real heavy. Okay, then I'm going to come next to a puddle of medium gray. This is Plaid FolkArt multi-surface paint. It's an acrylic paint that has a sealer built into it, so when it's finished drying and curing, it is very well sealed. And I'm going to side load some medium gray on that brush. Okay, now I'm going to come here to my petal, and let's start with the back here. So I've got this petal here in the back, but I want to bring this one forward a little more and have it lay over and also create a few folds in the petal itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my brush down on the flat with the shaded color up against the edge of the petal, and I'm going to start to float. Now I want you to see that it's pretty dark and I don't want it to be that dark. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some paper towel and get that damp. Because this previous painting is dried and sealed and it has a built-in sealer, I can very easily wipe off and restroke wherever I need to. Okay, so now what I want to do is kind of tone that gray down a little bit. So I'm going to come next to my white right here. This is Wicker white, and I'm going to pick up just a little bit of white and then come over here and work that into my gray just to lighten that a little bit. Okay, now when I come in here and I lay my brush on the flat, now I've got a little less intense color of gray, and I'm going to pull that right down towards the center. See how that lifted this petal on the left up and kind of pushed that petal on the right back a bit. So that's the process. So let's work on this area. So remember in the last lesson I showed you how to kind of slip slap that to create a shadow, the gray here to create a shadow. What I want to do now is kind of emphasize this overlay up here. So still on the flat, pushing up against the edge of the petal. And then I'm going to come right down here. Now if it gets too wide, I can twist my brush and push that gray over. And then bring that again down towards the center. So see how that's helping to lift this petal section up. I'm going to keep pushing that over a little more, twisting to the left, shoving to the right, and kind of shrinking that shading up just a little, and we're floating that right down in towards the center of the flower. So we're getting some really nice shading in here. So I'm going to keep working with that, pick up a little bit of white, go next to my medium gray, and I'm still getting the floating medium that's here on my palette, so it's working very nicely for me. Okay, so let's come in and kind of lift the edges of these petals here a bit, and what we're going to do is we're going to shade and float right there, and that's going to give it the illusion that this front edge of that petal is rolling over. See there? Very easily you can get that roll in there. All right, now we're going to continue to work these petals. I'm going to come over here, and where we have this center line here, let's strengthen this a bit just so we can get that a little more emphasized. So it looks like it's going down at that point on the petal. I'm going to bring some of this gray out into my petal and give it a wider shadow. Always working on the flat of my brush when I do this and making long strokes, not choppy in the middle. I don't want to see brush lines. Okay, so let's come back more gray and white. And I'm going to turn so that it's a better angle for me. And we're going to stroke on this side. Now, that's really strong. Let me get a little more medium and work that into my brush. And let's wipe this off. There we go. And let's try this again. There we go. A little thinner. Bring this down. I'm not going over the green. I want that green to stay. So I'm going right up against it and then standing up. All right, so now if we come back and look at that. Now that's a little more stripy than I want. So let's work this out and soften that out into our petal. There we go. So bringing that out more into the petal. Do a little on this side as well. And it's going to give us a little bit of shadow in towards the center of the flower. See that? So that's a very nice look there. I'm happy with that. Take some more medium and my gray and white blend, side loaded. Okay, so let's address this little flip up here. We've got a nice start here with what we did in the first lesson, but I want to emphasize that a little more and bring it forward. There we go. Then we can come here. Oops. And give that a little more of a roll. Isn't that nice? Okay, now what we did on this right here, on this center of this petal, I would like to do the same for some of the other ones that are in that same part of the structure of the flower. So right here we have another one. I'm going to pull this out from the center and then stand it up as it's folding over on this right side, and we'll get that a little bit more shadow there. Okay, but I'm going to leave this other side of it, maybe right here. I might put a little bit of shadow, but not here in the center. Do another one here. There we go. All right. Now let's take away some of this because that's a little stronger than I wanted it. That's better. Okay, so we're going to work our way around this flower. Let's come over here where we had the shading right in here. Give that a little stronger background to it. Right in there. And let it, let's get some medium, a little bit of that color, and we're going to let it come over a little further and just disappear into the white there. Okay, a little more white and gray. All right, now this right here, I really wanted to emphasize because it was so pretty in the original picture. And so I'm going to come and get a little darker underneath the edge of that petal and then come up here. So that's going to help lift that up, and we're going to add some more stronger white to the other side of that petal and help that lift. So let's come here and here. See how that's lifting that up and helping this one disappear underneath there. So what's happening is this petal is kind of bumping under there and then it's flipped. So let's get a little more medium and some white. And I want to strengthen this there. And it's a little wet for you to see, but I'll tip it just a little. There we go. And then right here, because it does a roll and goes back behind, I want that white to show up a little stronger, so I'm going to darken that edge. All right, and then here, where we're coming right around, I want to create a little bit of a dip in there and then pull this toward the edge of that petal. And then when we add our white on the edge, it's going to help give that rolled over effect better. Okay, now here we have another situation where I had a layer of petal. So I'm going to come through here now, and let's come around and stand up. All right, so this is helping to differentiate this petal from this one. Oops, and we don't want hard lines, so there we go. That's better. All right, so this one right here is looking a little flat. So I'm going to just streak out. We've got the green in there, but I want to give a little more definition to this petal. So I'm just with that corner of the brush there streaking out a little bit of that gray. And then we're going to let that be. And we're going to do a little bit of that to this one too, because I was having some of that gray showing in there. It's going to help the white that we add to be more pronounced. Okay, and then finishing up with our shading. Let me get that white, work that in. All right, over here we had a bit of a rolled petal as well. So let's come right in here, just like I did on this one. Lay to the flat, out and in, and there. And then this, oops, let's push that over a bit. So shove that over, there we go, and down like that. Okay, so now we've got a lot more interesting looking flower petals. Let's make a few V's in here so it looks like it's dipping down just a little bit. There, shade in there a little stronger. And then we've got a little bit of a flip right there. And then I'm going to add another V right in here. There, that's looking a lot more dramatic. Like that. And I'm going to add white to the other half of my brush and just kind of help this soften out a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right, I'm liking that a lot more. Okay, I think we're in good shape. Let's do one last shade along one of those stronger veins right here, just on this side. And bring that in towards the center. There we go. Now I got some choppy lines on there, so I'm going to bring that smoothly down, and that will clean those up. All right, look what a difference that made. Okay, so now let's address those brighter edges. I'm going to take, this is a 10 flat, and we'll get that damp, and I'm going to load it with white. So this is Wicker white. Okay, just white. And let's start down here where I wanted to kind of emphasize. So I'm going to start on the chisel edge of my brush, following the edge of this roll here. Then I'm going to push down where it comes out, and then stand up, and then push down again, stand up, chisel back in, and roll. So that's going to help brighten up that edge, and then I'm just going to pull with my chisel edge of my brush into that gray and give that a little more of a fine roll. There we go. So see how that picked that up nicely? A little more white, and we'll come through here, right there, and we're going to push, stand up, push. This one's rolling over, so I don't want to pull that. I just want to bring it over and then stand it up. Help that pop out just a little more. Same thing up here. Right, chisel, push, push, stand it up, and curl. Now if you get a little overrun like I did right there, you take a damp, clean brush and take that back off. A little more white, and we'll do the same thing here. Push it down, stand it up, and I want to emphasize that edge right there so that it's standing out a little better. Right here, same thing. We're going to push and stand up. Down here, I want that bright white. Let's see, anywhere else? We can bring some white from the edge here. So I'm going to touch, let me bring this up a little closer. There we go. I'm going to touch here, push it down and pull, push and pull. That'll help bring some more contrast into that space. Okay, here, push and lift. All right, that'll brighten that up, and then just kind of soften it into that gray area there and there. Okay, out here, let's do another one of those. We're going to come right here, push really hard, and pull in. Because we have that little bit of gray mixed in with the white, that stark white's going to show up a lot nicer. Same thing here. There we go. All right, and I overwent the edge on that one too, so let's just take that right back out. There. Oh, one more space I saw right here, right where we put that shading under there. We want to now push this, push it, and then slide it in. Right here, push and lift. Okay, I think we have achieved what I wanted to with that. in some white, and that'll help emphasize some of those darker shaded gray areas. Very nice. Let's get just a touch of gray on there, and we'll add a few in here. I'm just sweeping and then working that into the background. It helps the eye understand which way the petals are flowing to. All right, now, the last thing I want to do is address the center. We're going to spruce this up, prettier up. Okay, so I've got a 1/2 inch scruffy. This is a natural hair brush, so we don't dampen this first, and we pounce like this with color. So I'm going to double load this scruffy with my darker green. This is sap green and some daffodil yellow for a brighter look. And then I'm going to go back and forth just a little up and down because I don't want it super dark and I don't want it super light. So I'm letting that green come in and make it a lighter green, and the yellow come in and make it just a little bit brighter green. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to pounce, and I'm going to be ready if I need to take away any over pouncing here. So you just have that clean damp brush at the ready, so as soon as you get done pouncing you can take that out. So let's come right in here and we're going to make this center just a little larger. All right, now I've got that green behind it, so I'm going to pick up just a little brighter yellow. There we go, and making a half rounded shape like that. Then I can come in with that damp brush. Let's get that a little bit damper and clean that out. Okay. There we go. Now I want to tap this yellow edge into a little bit of white. All right, and we're just going to brighten up the back side of this. There we go. Not the entire width of it, just that back, and kind of soften it into the yellow. All right, now I want to come in here and I'm going to just tap through. Take that dark and tap into the center like that. So on the corner with the light, so we've got a little bit of a rounded dark in the front, then we've got this yellow band through the middle, and then darker in the center right there. So now it looks like a rounded center. Okay, so we pounced that in the water to clean it. And then I'm going to finish by pulling in some very pretty stamens. So this is a 2 script liner. We use inky paint with this, so I need water. I'm going to go into clean water, and I'm going to come over here and work in some daffodil yellow. And I may have to go into some green with that first. Let's see what it looks like against this background. So a little thicker paint, and you twist when you come out, so you get rid of any drips, and then you hold this brush straight up and down so that the paint runs off like ink. That's why we call it inky. So let's come down now a little closer, and we're going to start here. I'm going to touch on the tip, lay the brush down, lift, and pull into that center. Right, that's not showing up as much as I would like it to, so I'm going to get a little bit of the green in there with it. Let's get a little more water and combine my yellow and green. I might have to go a little bit darker even more because I have a green background there too. Let's try that. So let's come in here and stroke this again. Push, stand up, pull it in. That's better. I'm going to keep picking up this sap on the tip. We're going to touch, pick it up, pull it in. See there? So I'm doing the back first, different heights, and they're all pulling into that center. Let's get a little bit of white while we're at it. There we go. So it's nice to have some variation in color, depending on how the light is hitting it. So I'm just going through those 3 different colors: sap green, daffodil yellow, little bits of white. Well, that's not showing, so let's come in with some darker green. There we go. Okay, so it's looking really lacy and pretty. I'm going to pick up some heavy yellow. There, that's showing. Okay, now I'm going to come around. So these are getting pulled into this edge, so now I have to come around the front. And so we're going to add a little bit of white to help that show up. And we're going to come right into this part of the crown there. So just picking up different layers of colors, yellow sometimes, the green, dark green. All right. I'm going to let some of these spill over here and bring that into that crown here. Let's get some yellow there. Let's come out here and pull it in. There, and pull it in. See how we're making that rounded and curved. Some are standing up, some are falling over. Let's get some white in here. There we go. Okay. And with these ones that are curling over, you want to shorten those because they're going to kind of disappear behind their folded ends. Okay. Now I want to be careful. See, I've got all these the same length, so let's bring one out. And then over here we'll bring another out. All right, there we go. Okay, so that's a really pretty center. And so now, when we come back, oops, a little too far. Now you can see how we've taken that flower and really spruced it up. Now I'm going to balance out some of this dark here, or this light I should say, with a few more dark little pulls. There we go. You can really get carried away, so be careful. All right. I think that's really taken this flower to a next level, don't you? So, thank you for watching Paintabilities today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on how to take our simple white oversized flower and turn it into something more painterly looking with overlapping petals and some fun centers and shading and highlighting. So come back next time and I will share another new fun project with you.